Welcome in, everybody, to a special emergency edition of the Final Approach to Game Day show, brought to you by Final Approach Irrigation. Hunter and the team over there will take care of your lawn and make it not look janky. And we'll talk a little bit more about him later in the show. Right now, we have some breaking news. The FHSAA is in their meetings right now and are proposing some pretty radical changes to the way football gets played here in the Sunshine State if they were to go through. Collin, you have more information on it, but basically they're going to make a decision on Monday, right?
Yeah, so on Wednesday, FHSA Board of Directors, they had an informational workshop. An executive director, Craig Damon, outlined a plan to reduce football from 5 classifications plus rural and introduce a 2-week district tournament format to determine playoff berths. So it's a departure from what we currently see. Right now we have 7 classifications, 1 through 7A plus rural. And there's it was the end of the metro suburban split in 2022. Under the policy, the 7A schools and 6A schools would no longer be a thing. It would go from rural to 5A, which in Northwest Florida means that District 16A would no longer be a thing if this passes. So that means Pace, Crestview, Tate, and Navarre would no longer be in a division of their own. They would actually move. I'm talking Pace, Crestview, and Tate would actually move to 5A and join basically Gulf Breeze, Mosley, Niceville, and Milton. Navarre is interesting because there's a new high school opening up in Santa Rosa County, and that could bring Navarre down lower to around the 2A, 3A mark with Gulf Breeze. So in theory, it'd be a very powerful division in 5A. You have Milton, Pace, Crestview, Tate, Niceville, Mosley. I mean, that's a 6-team region district. Now, the question, but the most notable change about this is the district tournament format for high school football.
And this is like the most controversial part of it, right?
Yeah. So it would be the only state in the United States to have a district tournament format for football. Weeks 1 through 9. Teams schedule 8 games of their choosing. After week 9, the top 4 teams in each district, based on the FHSAA and Max Preps rankings, qualify for the district bracket. Week 10, number 1 hosts number 4, number 2 hosts number 3, and then week 11, the winners from both of those games play district championship game. The semifinal losers will play each other, and non-qualifiers may still schedule independent games. So if you are, let's say, Gulf Breeze, who did not make the playoffs this year, it's an easy example. They would play week 1 through 9 normal. They did not make the playoffs, so they'd have to schedule week 10 and 11 games, while Milton, Mosley, and Niceville supposedly moved on to their district tournament. Now, there's a whole article where friends over at Florida HS Football did this article. They got reactions. Weagle Hitchcock Athletic Director Bobby Johns, who used to coach at Milton High School back when I was there, they said district size is the proposal's biggest weakness. He said, he telling FloridaHighSchoolFootball.com, you want some bigger districts, especially for going to play the district tournament. So to speak, at the end, you can't do that with 2 or 3 teams in the district. Bradford head coach Jamie Rogers said everything should be decided on the field, regardless of a district final. Now, this is where it gets interesting. 85% of schools, according to Florida High School Sports, want to keep districts in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
78% favor required contests or structured postseason play within the districts. District champions should qualify automatically for the playoffs, and schools value schedule autonomy, meaning they can schedule who they want to be on their schedule every single year.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that they say they want whoever they want on their schedule, but they also want district play. So which is it?
I don't know. That's what the FHSA has to decide on Monday, and this is probably one that really chaps our gears, Christopher. Travel reduction and late season excitement rank among the highest priorities when it comes to coaches in Florida. Another aspect is financial aspects of this proposal as well. This new policy would allow district tournament games to remain financially independent, meaning no percentage of gate revenue would go to the FHSAA. The hosting visiting schools would manage profits and expenses locally. the FHSA's existing 25% cut would apply to regional and state semifinal rounds, but the change is intended to keep more dollars at the local levels, especially for small or rural schools that depend on football gates to sustain their entire athletic budget.
Yeah, and so the head of the FHSAA's board this year is none other than our Okaloosa School Superintendent, Marcus Chambers. We've reached out to Superintendent Chambers multiple times. Got nothing. And so we would still love to talk to him. Love to talk to him about these changes. They told us like, hey, they don't want to talk to us until after these meetings. But I mean, can't force somebody to talk to you. And so
yeah,
how this is it just, we have somebody in our backyard, but they're not going to share with us what's going on.
And we were told that it's not the right time to talk about these things. It's now Thursday leading into Friday. There's a weekend. There's a meeting on Monday. When is the right time to talk about these things? Because he does lead the FHSAA. His voice matters in the FHSAA. And he doesn't really want to talk to anything. It really chaps our gears. We can probably talk at length, Christopher, about if we decided to run the FHSAA on a football side, how we could do it and how things can be better. Because as it sits right now, we'll use District 24A as the best example, because I think it's probably the best example in all of local sports.
Of like what is ridiculous right now.
So you have Fort Walton Beach, Choctaw, Rickards, and Panama City Arnold. Rickards is in Tallahassee, Panama City Arnold. So you're requiring schools, players, teams, coaches, parents, band members to travel from Fort Walton Beach or Choctaw to Panama City or Tallahassee. And then you're also requiring those schools and all their infrastructure to travel from Tallahassee or Panama City to Fort Walton Beach, which does not seem fiscally responsible. It does not seem like it is valuing regional competition. And this whole district seems kind of weird. Like maybe Pensacola Catholic and 1-2A can get away with it because they're going from Escambia County to Walton County, and maybe they can get away with it. I would say 1-5A is okay because you're just going to Panama City and Santa Rosa County.
But that's even then, I mean, and you know me, I am a absolute hardcore local first kind of guy when it comes to this stuff, because I think it's insane. Like 2-4A, right? You look at that and you're like, why are we sending these guys to Tallahassee on one side, right? And then the other 4A team, it's Fort Walton, Choctaw, Rickards, and I'm losing my mind over here. Arnold. Yeah. So Panama City, and Panama City's still an hour away, right? Tallahassee is 2.5 hours away. It's a different time zone, right? And instead of doing something like that, if we have, and this is just my opinion, if we have 10-team conferences, right, I think that solves all of your problems if it's locals, right? So if you have, and I know people are going to say I'm crazy, I'm going to add Baker in here just to make it controversial, but yeah, Baker, Choctaw, Fort Walton Beach, Navarre, Niceville, Crestview, South Walton, Freeport, Walton. That's 9 teams right there, right? And so if you take these 9 teams and have them all play each other, because you can't tell me right now that Choctaw as a 4A school is not as good as Crestview, which is a 6A school, when they beat the brakes off of them earlier this year. You can't tell me that, right? And so I'm sitting here watching these decisions get made and wondering why, like, for example, God bless Godby for coming on to Niceville's schedule at the last minute to give Niceville a homecoming game. But if you're a Godby fan and you want to go see a Godby game, right, and you have to drive 2.5 hours, right, and that's just your fan, so that's not happening. But if you're a parent, it's probably still happening. But golly, that's a long night. You get home at 3 a.m, and excuse me, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, how is this fiscally responsible, right? Because, and this is the other thing, is everybody will say this is not taxpayer money, this is money at the gate, this is all this stuff. But the metaphor I used with you, Collin, is that this is like saying that the Mid-Bay Bridge is not a taxing entity because they take revenues at the gate. It is. It's run by the government, right? And so whatever money is getting paid in, it's a user tax. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not an optional tax, as it were. But it is, at the end of the day, if it's going into the coffers of a government agency, it's no better than a tax. And so we're sitting here using this money, right, to drive to Tallahassee or having North Miami Beach come from Timbuktu down in South, like just the middle of nowhere, right? Having, Palatka go across the state or whatever. I mean, it's not a great use of our money when we have all these very competitive teams that are right here, right? Because you can't tell me, for example, Niceville, bigger school than Choctaw. Choctaw beat the brakes off of Niceville this year, right? And they're a bigger district player. And I get that people go up and down, right? But it seems to work pretty well in college football because my alma mater, SMU, went to the college football playoff, and we have 4,500 undergraduates at the school. And so I'm sitting here, and everybody's like, well, the school size, it matters. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. When we have NIL, right? When we have open enrollment, and these kids can go wherever they feel like they want to go, right? The school size doesn't matter anymore. So why are we still organizing high school football like it's 1995, right?
Yeah.
Why are we not organizing it to take advantage of teams that are A, competitive in our area, and B, it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to send 80 kids, all their parents, all the coaches, the band, the fans, the color guard to Tallahassee for 6 hours. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I feel like there's another wrinkle that we're really not talking about with this whole landscape of high school football or high school sports in general is open enrollment statewide. I feel like athletics have taken advantage of the open enrollment. Now, open enrollment was originally signed off on as this is great academically for our students.
Sure.
Students want to, because some schools in Okaloosa County offer different vocational programs offered from Okaloosa School District or Okaloosa Technical College or Northwest Florida State. If they want to pursue these pathways, they can go to the school and then, they can fall in that pipeline. As Superintendent Chambers says, we're getting kids ready for college, military, vocational readiness. That's the whole goal. But now you're seeing, I think, open enrollment with athletics as the top priority. And we're seeing sort of what we're seeing in college football. We're seeing these different powerhouses come up in college football right now. Like Vanderbilt wasn't good 4 years ago, but NIL.
Now they're a top 10 team.
Now they're a top 10 team, and they're kind of world beaters at this
Collin,
point.
I don't know that I want to live in a world where Vanderbilt is a top 10 football team.
See, I do, because I think more parity. But I mean, where does this stop? I mean, does
it doesn't
say sort of pull the reins on sort of on open enrollment or enrolling in different schools? Now, it's different. There's a comment about private schools recruiting have caused this issue for football. It's interesting because in this area, there's only two real private schools that have football programs. It's Destin High and Pensacola Catholic. And
well, Destin's charter.
Sorry, Destin's charter.
You're talking about Rocky
Bayou. Yeah. But Pensacola Catholic has instilled decades of a winning tradition, and players from across the state see that, and they see 2A as an easier path to obtain a championship level or championships at the end of the year, right? They're not going to, I would say, the Nicevilles because that's a harder road to go. If you're 4A, you may want to go to Choctaw because obviously Frank Beasley's a great coach.
Yeah.
You have St. Augustine waiting for you. And St. Augustine are world beaters, and they're playing a team this week whose only loss was to IMG Academy. So, I mean, something needs to change, and it seems like from what Josh Wilson said last night on his Panhandle Blitz show, there is this growing disconnect between coaches and the FHSAA. And I don't know where the FHSA takes it from here. They will meet on Monday, and maybe this passes, maybe it doesn't. It looks like if the FHSA has their way, it will. But at some point, high school football needs to be dumbed down. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about, I hate to say this, a glorified intramural where kids, have the opportunity to make better lives for themselves when they go to college based on their plays in the field. It shouldn't be this hard to determine who is good enough to go to a playoff system or not. If we look at the brackets, when we posted the projected brackets for all the classifications in Northwest Florida. Is Milton good enough to be in the playoffs this year? Absolutely, I think so. But are they good enough to go week 1 on the road and win and make a deep playoff run? I don't think so. Is Niceville good enough? Well, if they play Mosley again, we saw them go to overtime against Mosley. I think Niceville has a better chance of making a deep playoff run than Milton does. Go to 4A, which is really a mess because Choctaw is obviously head and shoulders
far and away, not even close.
Away. But look at District 1 4A, where you have Escambia, Pine Forest, and Booker T. Washington. All of them, except Booker T. Washington, is the only one with a winning record this year. Mm-hmm. Pine Forest is the district champion at 3-5. Yeah, 3-5. And Escambia is currently the lesser seed at 3-6, and they're playing Tate tonight, who is on a last 3 games. They're 1-2. Mm-hmm. But is Escambia and Pine Forest, or Escambia and West Florida, good enough teams to make deep playoff runs, or where we know Choctaw will?
Yeah. I mean, so back to the original, like this whole FHSAA meeting, right? Michael Chandler says Chaminade is a 1A team and they're a nationally ranked team. And I completely agree. I think with the sentiment of what you're going here, which is this team, if you go to a school like Chaminade that has like 100 kids in a class, right? And they're beating, Miami, whatever, or Niceville by 40. Like, you've proven that the classification system is utterly broken, is totally useless, and should be done away with, right? With open enrollment again, and with the way everything's going, it's a waste of the taxpayers' money.
And Chaminade only plays in a district with one team.
That's the other thing. And
one other team.
What are we doing, right? And so if you ask me, like, this whole thing from top to bottom, like, a conference system makes sense. A conference system would allow everybody to play somebody close, so we're not taking buses to Kingdom Come and back in one day, right? Putting people on the road at 3:00 in the morning to play a football game, right? And not even just football, right? Because, like, if you're in district, right, and we do the conference thing for everybody, for every sport, you're not going to Jacksonville on a Wednesday, to play basketball. And it engenders rivalry. More people will show up, right? Because part of this, it's a social dynamic, right? And not just for football, right? But for other sports. Like, being a part of a community means going to the games, right? Being a part of the community means watching the band. It means going to the plays or going to the one act competition. I mean, everybody picks their flavor. I hope everybody's not going to all of these. I mean, if you do, that's incredible. But at some point, we have to, like, look at ourselves and say, is this what we want people to have to do in order to participate in our community? And I don't think that it is. I think that people would love to go to a Baker Crestview game. I think people would love to go to a Niceville Freeport game. Yeah. I think that it makes sense. It's less expensive. And ultimately, this is about high school, right? So this is about student athletes. And so if you're telling a kid, right, we're going to go play Godby next year, right, in Tallahassee, it's Friday night. And so Friday night at, right after school, maybe they load up the buses, go to Tallahassee, and then they get back at 3 a.m, right? So now your weekend shot, or heaven forbid, right, you get to the basketball season, the lacrosse season, or the soccer season, and these kids are going to Tallahassee on a Wednesday, and, or further than that, maybe, I don't know. And I'm sure, like, the other teams, I know they keep it a little more local, but at the same time, that's a lot of travel distance when you could just go to Crestview.
Mm-hmm. See, and it's weird to me that we live and people, like, we got a lot of comments on the ranking system. Like, how is Niceville ahead of below Milton, or how? The reason why is we live, if you remember, and this probably sends shivers down everyone's spine, we live in high school sports in the BCS era. Yeah. We have a computer picking who should be in and who should be out. When we've seen Milton 3 times this year. I've seen him against Crestview, I've seen him against Gulf Breeze, and I saw him against Niceville. Crestview got hot very at the end of the season, and I don't think this Milton team beats Crestview. I really don't. I mean, I mean, I think Milton beats Gulf Breeze, but I mean, if you played this Milton-Niceville game, does the game get closer? Probably, maybe, but I still think Niceville wins that game, as much as it pains me to say. Does Choctaw still remain undefeated? I think so, yeah. I think they're world beaters. The Alloway brothers are amazing on defense, and this offense is generationally good. But we have a computer picking playoff opponents. That's where we live. And the eye test, I think, is a little bit better than this computer system, because we're talking about strength. The only reason Milton is still in is because they beat Crestview. They beat West Florida High. They started their season 5-0. That's why they're still in. And they beat Tate. That's why they're still in. Niceville started, 1-2? 2-3? 2-3. Like, they got off to their season off the wrong foot. So that's why they're still getting penalized for their performance this year. That's it. That's really it.
If you want computers to stop picking playoff teams, right? That some sort of version where it's conference only, where you actually playing people, where you're saving the money, right? And then it's whoever wins the games, right?
Yeah. And that's what the coaches are asking for. In this article from Florida HS Football, which is, by the way, like a Bible, we'll have the lines from them later today, and maybe they'll be right, maybe they'll be wrong. I don't know. Remember last week it was Milton by 29, and that was disrespectful to the Niceville Eagles. But the Florida Coaches Coalition, which I think is very important, they had an executive report released this week. 111 coaches, 18.4% of the coaches took part in this. Competitive imbalance was the number one problem, calling the current enrollment model outdated and inequitable. The second biggest problem was performance-based placement, and competitive balance system was the most requested reform, 40%.
I mean, how many games have you and I been to this year that have been mercy ruled?
Several.
And everybody's so worried, well, if you play somebody that's a couple of places down, even though they're close to you, you're going to mercy. Well, it's already happening. It's already happening. So why are we driving through Kingdom Come for people to lose by 42?
One of the state championship games last year was mercy ruled.
Yeah.
Like, that should not happen. Like, ever.
So if that's going to happen, why don't we save the money on bus fare?
Getting into this, because this kind of nails all of our concerns in this article. District restructuring and travel reduction ranks as the second biggest problem. Transparency in the Max Preps ranking system followed. So that was the third. Coaches supported an open division, which is what Destin is in right now, but only if it's earned or optional, not mandated.
Okay. Nearly
half reported high concern about rankings affect playoff access, and most emphasized that football revenue supports all sports, and poor classification choices hurt entire programs. That is what the coaches are saying about this program, about the FHSAA. And I'm sorry, my eyes are a little red. I just got out of the shower like
my bad.
10 minutes ago.
I just want to see your pretty face. That's all.
Thank you. Yeah, but I'm not upset. I'm not crying at Milton's loss.
He's openly weeping about the difficulties within the process and structure of high school football.
One of the things about this redistricting thing that I thought was very interesting that Josh brought up last night is that this sort of hurts the rural schools the most. So we're talking about your Bakers, your Jays, your Northviews, your stuff like that. They could possibly leave the FHSA altogether, and they might go to the Sunshine State Athletic Association, which is growing more and more each year. Does that cause a problem with the FHSA? We don't know. This is sort of, if this happens Monday, I honestly think this is Pandora's box opening, and we can't put things back we can't put the genie back in the bottle. And which is weird, because basketball and baseball and soccer and all the other high school sports have a decent playoff system. I mean, district tournaments for high school football or basketball and baseball, I think, are fair, needed. But with this football program, the biggest fear that you have, and a lot of people aren't talking about it, let's just take Milton Pace, for example, because that's possibly the biggest rivalry game in the area. They're playing tomorrow night. There is a possibility we will live in a world where Milton and Pace never play each other in the regular season ever again. There's also a world where Milton and Pace will play each other 3 times a year. Once in the regular season, once in the district tournament, and then let's say the runner-up is Milton and Pace. they could go see each other in playoffs. Does that devalue rivalry games for you? There's a possibility that Choctaw and Fort Walton Beach, after 2026, because this is when this is all will go into effect, 2026 might be the last regular scheduled Choctaw Fort Walton Beach game ever. That's a real possibility. That's not hyperbole. That is a real possibility. And how does that affect local communities? Because that Choctaw Fort Walton Beach rivalry, well, it may not be a rivalry so much anymore. I mean, Fort Walton Beach has had some down years, but that's still a big turnout for the community. That's bragging rights. That's something all these teams look forward to. It's the saying that, Choctaw can go 0-9 one year, but as long as they beat Fort Walton Beach, they had a pretty good year.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the same for Niceville, Crestview, Milton Pace, Escambia versus Pensacola High. I mean, there's many rivalry games that could be impacted by this FHSA ruling. And unfortunately, no one from the FHSA wants to talk about it.
Yep. All right. You want to talk about the games that are tonight?
Yeah. We could talk about this for hours and hours and hours, but
if you do want us to talk about it for hours and hours and hours, please leave your thoughts in the comments. We want your opinions as well. So if wherever you're watching this, just comment. It'll pop up in my little feed here, and we'll address it as we go on. Or you can just email me, Christopher@midbaynews.com.
Or Collin at Midbay News. So let's real quick talk about what happens next with this FHSA proposal. On Monday, November 3rd, there's a meeting in Gainesville with the board of directors. Superintendent Marcus Chambers will be there. Where this plan could be adopted as presented, board members may still add amendments or defer the decision to a later date. The board currently has no meetings scheduled until February 2022 and 23rd of next year, meaning a delay could push any class of changes back another cycle. So that is where we're at right now. But we have games to talk about ahead of Thursday night. We have 4 games on the docket.
Crazy.
We'll start.
Speaking of which, referee shortage. Just remember that.
Maybe that's what's causing this. But
maybe
we'll talk about some games really quickly, and then we'll finalize with the game that most people in this area care about. We'll start with FSC Florida State. They're traveling to Mosley. Mosley is the District 1-5A champion, and this is their final tune-up game before the first round of the playoffs. I think we all say that Mosley is going to take this game. They're at home. Florida State's traveling from Tallahassee to Panama City Beach. Give me Mosley big. I say Christopher, I think, as well. They're going to take Mosley as well. Pensacola High, the 1-8 Tigers are traveling to Gulf Breeze, who is currently 0-9. Gulf Breeze is looking for their first win of the year, but I don't see it. We've had 11 weeks to show what Gulf Breeze can do, and they have not been world beaters at all. Give me Pensacola High big. And then Tate and Escambia is very interesting, as Tate is fighting for their playoff life right now. They're currently on the outside looking in the 6A bracket, Region 1 bracket. Escambia is still kind of locked in, but we really don't know for sure until November 6th when the final brackets are actually released. It's at Escambia. Give me Escambia. And then the final game we want to talk about, Enterprise, Alabama travels to Choctaw High, where the 9-0 Indians are looking for their first ever perfect season. They're holding opponents to an average of
first ever.
First ever. That's what Gareth told me this morning.
Dadgum.
I could be wrong.
That's crazy, man.
But you know what's a crazier stat?
What?
Choctaw's held opponents to 5 points a game.
And it's like, and that's like, I want to take out like garbage time.
Yeah.
And be like, how many like honest to God touchdowns have been scored on them? And I bet you it's the one with South Walton, 2 with Gulf Shores. And then let's see who they played. Fort Walton, they got 3 points. Fort Walton got 3 points at the beginning of the game. So now we're at 24 points. Navarre, I don't think they scored on anything on them in regular time. So
Arnold. So here's who. So they gave up 14 points against Gulf Shores. They gave up 7 points in garbage time against Niceville. They gave up 7 points in garbage time against Arnold. South Walton was the only one who actually scored a touchdown before the third quarter. Then you had Rickards, a shutout. Fort Walton Beach, 42-3 blowout, but that field goal was scored in the first quarter. It was actually funny to look up.
It was 3-0.
It was 3-0 Fort Walton Beach, and you're like, oh my God.
I remember I texted you. I was like, guys, what's happening right now?
Yeah, what's happening in the world? But Enterprise they're a good team from Alabama. They've had an up and down year this year. They're 4-5.
So yeah, they've lost 4 in a row to start the season, and then they won 5 in a row.
Yeah, so they're getting hot. I mean, but this is the unstoppable.
I like Choctaw. I don't even think it's.
I like Choctaw too. I think it's Choctaw 28-0. We have interesting games tomorrow as well. We'll just briefly say something about it. Just a couple matchups. Does Junior Harris lock up Northwest Florida's rushing title against Port St. Joe tomorrow?
Yes. Port St. Joe played Baker last week and held them to a pretty good clip. I think the final score was 24-13. I believe it was an 11-point game. And so Port St. Joe's kind of had a down year this year. I don't put Destin out of range to win this game and book in their game or their year with wins, even though it's just two wins. But Junior Harris I think he's the real deal. I mean, so he didn't do so great against Booker T, but he really showed out and I mean, I watched probably about an hour of tape of his last week, and the offensive line is porous. And so they keep running it up the middle, which is interesting. But what'll happen is he'll roll like 3 guys and then get to the outside and hit a 40-yard run, and he'll hit 2 or 3 of those a game. And then for some reason they continue to run it up the middle, so he'll get 2 or 3 yards maybe, right? And so he ends up with 120 yards, and it's off of like 3 big runs. I think that if that guy had Pace's offensive line, this dude would have an offer from Alabama.
It's a shame that he's not offered right now. Like, he would be a steal for any football program that would take him.
SMU,
Virginia Tech, I'm looking at you. You're looking for a new coach.
I mean, look, I'm just saying, take a risk on the guy.
Yeah.
And Zach Lesnar says they never should have switched from Metro Suburban. From your lips to God's ears, Zach.
Yeah. A couple more games before we get out of here. We'll have more coverage about these games tomorrow on Final Approach Game Day, brought to you by our friends at Final Approach Irrigation. This is the perfect time for you to get your lawn care needs out of the way. It's getting cold. By the spring happens, you have a nice, fresh green lawn. You'll be the envy of all the dads in the neighborhood, thinking, why do they have such a green lawn?
And
Final Approach Irrigation will help you out.
Bonus, your New Balances will still be factory fresh white because you won't have been working in the yard, baby.
Yeah. You can enjoy the holidays with peace of mind. Knowing that your grass will make it through the winter. Freeport and North Florida Christian. I'm only saying this because it was the funniest thing. We got invited to this Freeport group that's not associated with the school. We put out the bracket earlier this week, and they said this is all going to plan. We lost 4 straight games, so we're getting Catholic week 1.
So good. That was the comment of the year.
Yeah, it was comment of the year. It's all going to plan, but I think Freeport beats North Florida Christian, even though it's at North Florida Christian. We have Navarre versus Niceville. It's sort of a rivalry game, I guess, but we will not be there. I think this is the first time in Mid-Bay News history we'll not be at a Niceville football game, even though it's senior night. Northwest Florida Raiders are tipping off tomorrow night, so that's a big deal. And you're going trick-or-treating with children, so that's totally fine.
Sorry, guys, I had kids. I'm
Bay,
a monster.
Final one, a couple more. Bay versus Bozeman, 2 district champions meeting up against each other last week of the regular season, and then the battle for the Golden Helmet, Milton at Pace, the best rivalry in Northwest Florida, in my opinion. It's going to be a tough night for the
Niceville, Crestview. Crestview, Niceville.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then Crestview will also play Fort Walton Beach at Crestview. Crestview's going to win this game and single-handedly. But it's shaping up to be an exciting week. By the way, November 6th is when the brackets go live with FHSA. We will be live as well that day. We're going to try to invite some coaches and some pundits from around Northwest Florida. Gareth Stearns, we're looking at you. He's the voice of Choctaw Indians. Irish Bill, the voice of our Raiders, who sort of really knows all about local high school football. Some coaches as well to talk about their season. So join us Thursday, November 6th at 11 o'clock. We will be doing a live stream of the entire bracket show. I will be doing it. Christopher will be working, I guess. But yeah.
Last thing, I want to cover this comment right here. This is yes.
Yes.
Short answer is yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. If we're gonna keep it mostly the same as it is right now, then yes. But if we're gonna do like the open, my fever dream where there's 48 conferences and we make it happen, then no. Because look, every SEC needs a Vanderbilt. All right. Every Big 12 needs a Baylor, and every ACC needs 7 private schools. So
every ACC needs a Florida State.
Yeah. So
sorry.
No, hey, it's true. Think about it,
Yeah.
right? Because like, I'm trying to think of a heavy private school. So like a Jacksonville would have like, 5 private schools and 5 public schools. Yeah, Duke. Do you remember that old ESPN commercial that was like, the guy from Duke was trying to sit somewhere at ESPN headquarters and everybody else was from UNC. Yeah. And he goes, can I sit here? And then like the UNC guys are like, can I sit here? I don't know, Duke boy, can you? It lives in my head rent free. I love it.
Look, we all still hate Christian Laettner. All right.
I thought he was okay.
I mean, he drained threes like, presidents drop long range bombs on other people. Okay.
Look, I don't.
Who's the best long range shooter, Christian Laettner or the Obama administration?
Not wrong.
No, not
wrong. I see you, MQ9. Look,
I see you, Hurlbert. I see you, Duke. You doing stuff.
I see you, Fhsaa.
Yeah,
just do your thing, guys. Anyway, now that we've made our opinions clear on Fhsaa's tactical capabilities, we're gonna call this one. But if you have comments, we'll come back around, check them out, respond.
We'll see you tomorrow.
But we will be back tomorrow for the full final approach to game day, where we will be talking about the best games on the Emerald Coast. It should all be conference games, but they're not. But they should be.
Mm-hmm.